Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is in collaboration with Ashley from WholeChildU.com. Her website has a lot of great resources for teaching your kids at home, and she's also a tutor, so be sure to go check out her website and you can learn more. I'll put her link in the description box below. Today's project is a simple watercolor silhouette, so you'll need a side profile photo of the person you're featuring in your silhouette, a piece of watercolor paper large enough to cover the photo, a pencil, paintbrushes in at least two sizes. You'll want a large size and a fine tip size, washi tape, a ruler, and a set of watercolor paints. I am using Sakura Koi, and as always, links to the supplies I use are in the description box below. You'll want a jar of clean water and then a jar of dirty water to rinse your brush in. This is optional, but a heat gun or hair dryer is helpful for drying your picture in between layers. And you'll need a black pen. A white pen is also helpful, and an eraser if your pencil doesn't have one at the end. I am using a light box to trace my silhouette, but you could also use a brightly lit window. When you have finished lightly tracing your silhouette, you're going to grab your largest paintbrush and dip it into clean, clear water. We're going to fill in the entire shape of your silhouette with this clean water. We're using the wet on wet technique for watercolor today, and this means that when we drop in our paint into the wet surface of our paper, it is going to bloom and blend really well and make a very lovely gradient in our silhouette. And the paint will not flow anywhere that your paper is dry. So this is part of the magic of watercolor. The paint will remain only where your paper is wet. So make sure you fill in that whole silhouette and try not to stray outside of the lines that you drew. Now that my paper is wet, I am taking the same paintbrush and dipping it into a single color from my palette. I'm just dropping the paint in a few places on the silhouette. Then I'm going to clean off my brush in my dirty water jar, dry it slightly on a cloth or paper towel, and then I'm going to begin pushing that paint to the edges of my silhouette. You can see that it really doesn't take a lot of paint to get a beautiful, rich shade of color. And since we already put the water down on the paper, it doesn't take a lot of paint to fill it in. So begin with a little, and then you can build up your layers and saturate your color as you go along. Now that we've added our second layer of color, I'm going to take my smallest paintbrush, grab just a little bit of paint, and add some of those fine details to the edge of my silhouette. My daughter was pulling her lips in for the photo that I took, so I'm just going to take my paintbrush and exaggerate her lips a bit. If you find that you get too much paint on your paintbrush and it's a little bit too dark, you can just dip your paintbrush in water, push it back towards the center, to spread that out a bit. After drawing my initial layers, I take my small paintbrush again and go in and add just a few more fine details. These small details really help to bring your silhouette to life and give it that unique character that ties it to the individual person that you chose. I always make sure to add eyelashes. These really seem to help to bring your silhouette to life. Once I finish adding my fine details, I go back in one more time with my heat gun and dry my piece all the way. Then I take my white gel pen and I'm going to correct any edges that I think aren't sharp enough. So you notice that under the chin I have some stray paint that I'm going to clean up, and once you go over this a little bit with your white gel, you can't see it anymore. It acts as an eraser. It's the perfect thing to just go around and clean up any stray bits of paint. Now we've reached the most fun part of our painting. You're going to grab two paintbrushes for this, your smallest paintbrush and your largest paintbrush. Dip your smallest brush in a small amount of water, hold it above your paper, and you're going to whack it with your large paintbrush. This is going to create a beautiful splatter that will go across your whole page and add interest to finish off your artwork. You can go in with multiple colors if you'd like. I did pink at first to match my silhouette, but then I decided to add a little bit more character by going in with purple as well. If you are worried about getting splatters that are too large or in the wrong spots on your painting, you can grab a piece of scrap paper and practice a couple times before you do it on your final piece. After my splatter, I went in one final time with my large paintbrush just to blend some of those spots where I thought the edges of paint were too harsh or too dark, and it also blended in some of my splatters, so there weren't quite as many directly on the silhouette. But this is totally up to you. Try not to overwork your painting too much. Take a step back from it and really look at it and decide whether or not it needs these finishing touches. For the final touch on our painting, we're going to grab our ruler and create some guidelines for writing the name of the person who is featured in our silhouette. You may also want to grab your eraser and make these lines as light as possible so that they don't show up in your finished piece. I'm using the fine tip end of a Tombow dual brush pen to write my daughter's name. First, I'll write it in basic cursive, and then I'm going to go back and make each of the downstrokes thicker. This is how you do faux calligraphy. So anywhere your pen went down when you initially wrote your word, you're going to go back and draw a second line to make each of those strokes thicker. Once you've finished your painting, you now have a beautiful piece of handmade artwork to display in your home or give as a gift. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and that you learned something new. Please be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future tutorials, and please check out Ashley's website at wholechildyou.com. Thanks for watching.